Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of NCompass Live. I am your host, Christa Porter, here at the Nebraska Library Commission. NCompass Live is the Commission's weekly webinar series where we cover a variety of topics that may be of interest to libraries. We broadcast the show live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, but if you're unable to join us, that's fine. We do record the show as we are doing today, and you'll be able to watch it later at your convenience. And I will show you at the end of today's show where you can access all of our show recordings. Both the live show and the recordings are free and open to anyone to watch, so please share anywhere you like about any of the sessions we have on NCompass Live. For those of you, I know we had a couple of people registered who are not from Nebraska, and we may have people watching these recordings who are not from Nebraska. For those of you not from here, the Nebraska Library Commission is the state agency for libraries. So we provide training and resources and grants and databases to all types of libraries in the state. So you will find shows on NCompass Live for all types of libraries, public, academic, K-12, corrections, museums, historical societies. So there's something for everyone. We bring in guest speakers from around the state and around the country to speak on NCompass Live, but we also have Nebraska Library Commission staff that do presentations for us. And that is what we have today. I am doing double duty today. I am both your host and your presenter today. In addition to doing NCompass Live here, I am also the Library Development Director at the Nebraska Library Commission. And one of the programs that I run is our Public Library Accreditation Program. And today I am going to take you through the basics of the program in about an hour. To just give you a taste of what it's like if you are a library who's up for re-accreditation this year. This is a great little quick intro of what you're going to need to go through. If you are interested in just being accredited and you're not sure about it, of course, perfect as well. If you have any board members or anyone in your community, your city manager, clerk, anyone who's wondering why are you doing this, what's the benefit, what's it all about, this is a perfect session for them to attend. Just an hour overview of what the whys and the hows of accreditation. I have looked to see who registered for today, and we do have a mixture of people some libraries who are up for re-accreditation this year. That's great, getting started. Some that are not due for another couple of years, and that's fine too. We've got library staff members, board members, perfect. Everyone, this is a good overview for anybody. Here I have started on our Public Library Accreditation webpage. You can access this if you go to our Library Commission website. Over here, there is a flyout menu for our certification and programs in our accreditation. That is because they are all related, and I am going to talk about all three of them today, but this is where you get to our main accreditation webpage. If you go to this flyout menu and go to the About, you will end up here. Now, right at the top of the page here, I do have a link to it for attending today's show, but I do also have longer workshops scheduled. Our full workshops are 3-hour workshops scheduled in June. So those would be to attend if you are actually up for re-accreditation this year and you want to get more in depth about everything on our application form, everything that you need to do. That's the official training for anyone who is doing this from beginning to end, rather than just the overview that we're doing today. So I would recommend, if you are up for re-accreditation this year, that this is a session you should sign up for. There are 4 sessions planned. They are the same information will be done each time. You do not have to attend 4 3-hour workshops. I schedule it multiple days and different times so that everyone could hopefully find a time that is convenient for you to join us. There will be a recorded session available afterwards. So if none of these dates work, you'll be able to watch that as well. And also just to go back and refer to it. So beginning of June, on the 2nd, the 4th, the 9th, and the 10th, I've got 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon scheduled. So if you want the in-depth, step-by-step, going through everything on our form, all the different steps for creating a community's response plan, that would be one of those sessions you should sign up for. Today we're doing the quick overview. So just an hour. So we will not be getting as, step by step, but just giving more of a, giving you an idea of what it's all about and why you might want to be accredited if you're not yet, if your library is not yet, or just a reminder of what you're getting into. Now, the Public Library Accreditation program that we have here at the Nebraska Library Commission, this is something we do here through the Commission. There is no overreaching national organization that runs accreditation or certification programs for public libraries or library staff. So each state does this differently. So we here have certification programs for both our library staff and our library board members, and we have the accreditation program for the public libraries. Some states have accreditation and not certification, some have certification and not accreditation, and some have nothing. So it will vary. So if you are attending here from another state, just be aware this is how Nebraska does it. Your state may do it differently, checking with your state library to see what the process is there, if there is one. Or if you've come to Nebraska from another state and you've gone through this process somewhere else, understand it will be different here. All right, so one of the first questions I receive, or a question I get often is, why? Why should I be accredited? What's it all about? Why am I looking into doing this? So the public library accreditation process, just give you a little history, started in the mid 80s, 1980s, and as a to have our libraries, show that they are providing certain services, that they're meeting certain benchmarks. And we wanted to make sure that our libraries were providing good service to our citizens in our communities. So a program was come up with about accreditation, where you would report on the different things you do at your library, and you would earn certain in certain levels if you did less things or more things, what level you'd be accredited at. So it offers benchmarks for you to reach for minimum standards for library service. It is something you can compare yourself to other libraries that are similar to yours. So you can say, hey, look, this library is doing this and we are too. You can look at other libraries and see what they're doing and see if you want to aspire to do what they are doing. But the main purpose of it is to just show to your community and to your stakeholders, your mayor, your city council, that we are doing good things. We are doing important things. And look, the state has accredited us and said and has given us this certification, this accreditation that shows that we are providing, reaching these minimum standards of library service to the community, and the money and the support you give us is totally worth it. It's definitely, as I have here, something to be proud of and celebrate. Many communities do celebrate it. You will receive a certificate in the mail that you can frame and hang up in your library. I send you a little graphic, a logo of a seal that's saying that your library is accredited, that you can use on your social media, on your newsletters, anywhere you want to. So you can definitely put this out and say, we have been accredited. And here's the cool proof of that. The library accreditation is good for 5 years. So if anyone who is renewing this year, it'll be good through 2031, which is just a weird date to say, but it is. So it is done every 5 years. Previously, in the beginning of the program, it was done every year, which was a lot. And then there have been changes throughout the years, been updated, tweaks done to the program. At one point changed entirely. The guidelines that are in here are, we put together a group of librarians, regional library system directors to decide, tell us, what is important in libraries, what are they doing, what do you think we should be looking at? So we work with your colleagues to create these guidelines that you are supposed to meet. And over the years, since the 80s when it first started up, it has been revised and updated to keep up with changes in libraries and just changes in how we want to run the program. As I said, originally it was done every year, and then for a long time it was a 3-year process. Every 3 years you had to be accredited. We had started getting lots of comments that 3 years was too soon to do it again. Things hadn't changed enough. There wasn't anything new to, it was just repetitive of what we had done 3 years ago. So we started thinking about maybe it should be extended to longer. And we ended up falling into the 5-year process due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2020, when COVID started in March, I was preparing to do the 2020 accreditation process, and I immediately gave everyone a year extension. All libraries were given an extra year of accreditation. So it became 4 years. It was going to be 4 years. There was so much going on. There's no reason for anyone to have to deal with this when everything else was happening in the world. So everyone got a year. And in 2021, things were still not up to speed. Again, things were still happening with the pandemic. So I did a second year. So due to the pandemic, everyone got 2-year extension to their certification or accreditation period. And then I just said, well, people have been asking for it. Let's just leave it that way. So everything was reorganized to be a 5-year process, which we hope is much easier and better on people. And we seem to have heard that they prefer having that longer time. Now, there are, in addition to all of these things about meeting standards and showing to your community how this is important and that you're doing these things and just celebrating and bragging about it, there are some other benefits, specifically in the monetary area. There are certain things that you are eligible for because you are an accredited library. If you're not accredited, you do not receive these things. So the first thing is state aid to public libraries. This is funding that we receive from the state legislature here. We have it as part of our budget. And if you are accredited, it is based on, there's a base amount, and then it's per capita, how big your community is. Anyone who's accredited will receive this funding. And if you are one of the higher levels, silver or gold, you get a little extra incentive payment, an extra $200 if you are at the silver level and $400 at the gold. You are also eligible to apply for the grants that we offer here through the Nebraska Library Commission. If you're not accredited, you're not eligible to apply for our grants. This would be our continuing education and training grants for attending conferences and meetings and doing professional development training, internship grants where we can provide you funding to hire a temporary staff member, library improvement grants for if you have programs or equipment or furniture or things that you need for your library, and then youth grants for excellence, which is for any programs or services geared specifically for children and teens. In addition to our grants, the Nebraska Department of Economic Development has a community development block grant that they have as one of their criteria is that if you are a public library applying for that, you do need to be accredited through us. And this would be for things like construction, specifically say for community facilities. This is if you need to like build a new library building, do renovations, additions to it, whatever. So anything like physical done to your building, that is something you could use that grant for. So only accredited libraries receive these three, are eligible for these 3 items. As I just mentioned about the gold and silver, there are 3 levels of accreditation, bronze, silver, and gold. And which level you're at is determined by how many points you have earned in the accreditation application. There are all these guidelines in the application that are about things you do, as I said, policies you have, programs you offer, how much budget you have, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll look briefly at some of these. But each one is worth a certain number of points, and you earn points for going into this accreditation application form and checking off the boxes for all the things that you do. There is a total of 275 points available, and the levels are 175 gets you to bronze level, 200 to silver, and 250 to gold. These points and the guidelines that you have here are this is a point system that went into effect in 2013, if I'm remembering correctly. If you want to see what your library's accreditation level is, an expiration date, or any others, we do have a list here. This is a list of all Nebraska public libraries and whether they are accredited or not and when they expire. So you can check here. By default, it comes up in city order, but you can change the sort to alphabetical by library name, which regional library system they're in, the year they expire, or the accreditation level. These links here for the library name, if we know of that library has a website, we link out to their library website. So you can see here, Ainsworth is just the top of the list alphabetically. They're at silver and they're due to expire in 2029. Any blank ones, they just are not accredited. The accreditation program is a voluntary program. It is not required for public libraries to be accredited in Nebraska to be a public library at all. So it is voluntary. So many oftentimes our smaller libraries do not go through the process, and that is perfectly fine. It is a volunteer program. I believe right now we have 182 or 183 libraries out of all of our 240 something official legally established libraries that are accredited. All right. The accreditation process starts on July 1st every year. And you'll see at the top of this page, there was that big notice that 2026 process will start July 1st. And what happens on July 1st is I send an email out to everyone who is up for re-accreditation this year and any libraries who are not currently accredited, but have submitted our public library survey and our Library Commission's supplemental survey for the preceding year. So I do proactively reach out to any libraries who have done that. That is like the first requirement for being accredited is getting that public library survey submitted. So everyone will get an email from me on July 1st letting you know that the application form is open and ready to be used, ready to submit. The application form itself, which is an online form, and a community needs response plan are due to be submitted to me by October 1st. And I'll explain more about that community needs response plan. That's a separate document that you will email or mail to me. It is not something available as in like an online form. They're due to me by October 1st, and then I will evaluate them together. And then by the very latest, December 31st of the year, you would know if you are re-accredited, or if you're new, what your accreditation level will be for becoming a newly accredited library. Now, the October 1st deadline is, I'll call it a soft deadline. As I said, this is a program that is run by each state and is run here by me. So I would like to have things in by October 1st, but if you need extensions, I can give that. I understand things are busy during the summer, or things may come up, or you just get behind. Not a problem. Just reach out to me and let me know, and I can give extensions month to month. If there are major issues happening, for example, if you have had a natural disaster, a tornado, flooding, fires, whatever, I can give extensions for another year. I do that all the time. It is not a problem. So if something is really happening in your library or in your community that is, there's so much going on, just like when COVID started, we can give extensions. I also do proactively reach out to libraries. If I know that you are as a brand new library director just came in this year, I will reach out and just proactively give you another year to do accreditation. If you are due to be reaccredited the same year you start as a library director, you got a lot of things to learn when you're just starting out. You don't need another thing. This doesn't need to be another one of those things to try and learn. I'll give you a year to get settled in and then bump you to it next year. So just keep in touch with me about things happening in your library. In order to apply and to maintain your library accreditation, there are 3 things that you must do. And the maintaining is important because this is not just something you do once every 5 years. You do reaccredit yourself every 5 years, but you do have to submit the annual public library survey and our supplemental survey every single year. And you have to maintain and keep meeting your 12 minimum qualifications every year that your library is accredited. The community needs response plan just needs to be submitted every 5 years, but you need to have one when you apply or re-accredit. The Public Library Survey is where we collect data from all of you. It is also used to pre-fill many of the questions, many of the guidelines in your accreditation application form, that online form. So we don't ask you to, re-enter anything that you've already submitted to us. We take that information, we pre-fill it, and then there's extra questions that you can check off to get extra points beyond what you've earned from your data that you submitted in the Public Library Survey. Now, this year, as many of you know, the survey has been done a little differently and is on a different schedule. Due to the Baker and Taylor closure and no longer having that Bibliostat program to use, we came up with our own in-house version of a survey, and that did just wrap up on April 1st officially. And Sam Shaw is our data person here at the Library Commission in charge of the survey. And so he's been in contact with all of you, and he's just wrapping up some back and forth with some libraries, getting some things finalized. But I have been told that it will be fine and be ready to use to import into our accreditation application form by July 1st. So we should be still on schedule for accreditation, even though the survey was done much later than usual. Normally, the survey opens in November of a year and closes in February. This year, it didn't open until December, sometime in December, and was open till April 1st. I know it's closed April 1st. I forget exactly when it opened, but so we're a little late on that, but we've got the data. So you do have to submit your survey, and we have some extra questions in a supplemental survey that some extra things that the Public Library Survey has submitted to IMLS for national statistics, but we have some other questions and things we want to ask you about just locally. That's a supplemental one. And this must be submitted every year your library is accredited. If you do not submit it 1 year, you can lose your library's accreditation. We have revoked accreditation for not keeping up with the minimum qualifications and keeping up with doing the survey. All right, so that's your first thing you need to do. Then the 12 minimum qualifications. Actually, I'm going to do this way and open a new tab there. If you click on there, this is the 12 things that every library has to do or be doing in order to be accredited. This is not anything you decide, oh, I'm only going to do some or not. This is your base, the bare minimum of what you need to do. This link here also, this is the first page of the accreditation application form, the online form. Goes here and you check off all these boxes certifying that yes, we are doing all of these things. And you can see right now, there's a big red box that says it will not start until July 1st. The accreditation application form, the online form, is not live right now yet. It will not go live till July 1st. So I'm showing you this screen here, though, because this beginning screen you can always access. And we have a preview application. You can see what the questions will be asked on the live form. And I'll show you that in a bit here after we go through these minimum qualifications. Does anybody have, before I get into this, does anybody have any questions about anything I've mentioned so far? About the basics of the program, the history, the schedule, the levels? Anything you want to ask me about, type into the questions section of the GoToWebinar interface. I don't see anything yet. Or if there's anything you want to make sure that I do cover, please do let me know. I want to make sure I can get any questions you have answered, any concerns or issues. Type in anything whenever you think of it. So in order to be an accredited library, you must meet these 12 minimum qualifications. There is a yellow circle question mark here that will pop open some information, a help guidelines, more details about some of the laws that these are about, links to other helpful information that I will go through with you. You also see this throughout the accreditation application form for some of our questions with just more information and explanation about what the questions are all about. So in order to be accredited, the first thing you must do is you must be legally established under state statute, a legally established public library. Now, it is not required in Nebraska that a public library be legally established to exist. We have public libraries that are totally volunteer run, that are just community run, and that is perfectly fine. But in order to be accredited through us, you do need to be legally established. And also in order to use some of the services that we have here at the Library Commission. In order to be legally established, a public library, there's 2 qualifications, and this is under state statute. And that is on here, legal established, and we have links to all of the statutes. Chapter 51 of the Nebraska state statutes is generally where you'll find all of the library specific laws. So in order to be legally established as a public library, first you must have been established by a resolution or ordinance that was put out by your municipality. Your city, village at a meeting and said, yes, we are having a public library, and here's the official notification that we are doing that. And the second criteria is that you have a library board of at least 5 members. The library board is your governing body for your library. We have both governing, and we have administrative and advisory boards, either kind, but it is the governing body. So those are the 2 things you need to do to be legally established, and everything else after that is however you want to run your library. Second criteria is you must comply with all Nebraska library laws, other local laws that might be related to you being a city department, and any federal laws. And again, we have links to Nebraska laws, federal laws, Open Meetings Act information. In our statutes, there's a confidentiality of library records. That's in section 84 of the statutes, that you cannot just give out library patrons circulation information details. And then federal laws, ADA rules and regulations, Children's Internet Protection Act, all these kind of things that you must be in compliance with. As I said, you must have a governing or administrative or an advisory library board that has bylaws that you are operate under, and you must follow Nebraska's Open Meetings Act, Open Meetings Law. And we do have links to that here as well. A link to the Open Meetings Law itself, and the Attorney General has a great webpage where he has notes and further explanation about this. Public library boards are public bodies, and you're required to operate under the Open Meetings Act, meaning having public meetings. All your meetings are public for everyone to attend. Certain ways you have to run it. I give out posters. Our Nebraska League of Municipalities provides posters that have these all the details on it. We send out to all of our libraries, and we've also done NCompass Live webinars about the Open Meetings Act. We did one last year that whenever there's changes in the state laws, sometimes there's little tweaks that happen. So I highly recommend taking a look at that if you want to learn more about that. The next 2 things are related. Your board and your library director must be certified by us here at the Nebraska Library Commission. As I mentioned earlier, there's our accreditation program and our 2 certification programs. And I am going to pop back over here and up where I showed you earlier, where we had that flyout menu. In order for your library to be accredited, your board has to be certified and your director has to be certified. Other library staff can also be certified, doing the public librarian certification, and you can earn more points towards your accreditation if you do have extra staff that do that. But your board as a whole and your librarian director has to be. Ooh, I do see a question. Oh, we do have a question about library boards. Can you have more than 5 board members? Yes, absolutely. Yep, you can have as many as you like. Not too many, too many cooks spoil the stew type situation, but you can have more than 5. You just have to have a minimum of 5. So whatever works for you. So the board and librarian certification, this is about doing professional development and lifelong learning, earning continuing education credits by attending workshops and trainings and conferences, and just keeping up with what for librarians, what's happening in the library profession, and for boards, how to be a library board. So I'm going to go to each one of these pages to just show you the information they have on there. So our library board program. For library boards, your library board as a whole must do 20 hours of continuing education hours during a 3-year certification period. So this is your library board as a whole, not each person on your board. So if you do have the 5 people, in 3 years' time, each person has to do 4 hours of CE. Should not be a problem at all. We have information here about signing up for the certification program in the first place. A specific form for library boards to submit their CE activity. You can look up your board's status to see if they are currently certified and at what level. So you can see here, this is similar to the accreditation list, but it shows if the board is certified or not, when it's due to expire or if it has expired. And then these links are different. These go to the board's certification record. So if you click on that, you can see here, I always pick on Ainsworth just because they're at the top of the list alphabetically. You can see for the current session, their current certification period, they've done 13 hours of CE. They need 7. And they need to do those additional 7 hours by September 30th of 2027 next year. So they got plenty of time for that. And you can see here who attended things and for how many hours it was worth. If you scroll down, you will also see we list here who you have reported to us are your board members. This is something you can do on that supplemental supplemental survey that goes along with the public library survey. And you can update that info at any time. And you can see here, they did attend a previous session of our Nebraska Opens Meetings Act, the one we did back in 2024. And if more than one person attends something, they each earn those hours. So this was a session that went a little long, ended up being an hour and a half. So in total, they earned 3 hours. So each person earned an hour and a half. So if all 5 of your board members watch the 2025 session, you earn 5 CE. So each person earns their hour and they all sit together and watch it. And then that goes together to totals up for your board's 20 hours that you're required to do. There are lots of things you can do: workshops, webinars, in-person, attending conferences. We actually have a grant now that we can provide funding for any of your board members. It's the Fernheim Scholarship that we can provide funding for any of your board members to attend the Nebraska Library Association Conference or the Association for Rural and Small Libraries Conference. So if you want to get your board members more involved in attending library conferences, we have funding that will help pay for that. We also pay here at the Nebraska Library Commission. We have a statewide subscription to United for Libraries. United for Libraries is the American Library Association's group for Friends, Foundation, trustees, which are library boards. All of their resources are available free to all library board members and staff. There's Trustee Academy courses in there, short takes for trustees. Here's some of the classes you can take. So lots of good information for your board to learn what it means to be a library board. And that's the key to providing continuing education credits and telling me you're taking things. It has to do with your job as a board member. Now you may do other sorts of continuing education, other lifelong learning things. You might be a teacher and take courses and certification for that. And that's great, but that doesn't have anything to do with your job as a library board member. So you need to be attending things that have to do with improving, as it says, you're improving your board effectiveness, library service, things like that. So that's our board certification. Librarian certification is similar. It is the same idea. You're trying to do stuff above and beyond just your regular learning how to do my job at this library, attending workshops, learning new things, attending conferences. Librarians have to do 45 hours of CE over their 3-year period, though. So it is a lot more as of them being the staff at the library, of course. There are levels of certification for library staff, and it depends on what type of other education you have. If you have a library science degree of any level, associate's, bachelor's, graduate, master's, you are certified at that particular level. So you hear 2L for library degree. If you have any degree or education in other areas, then you are at a different level, and you have to do what we call our basic skills courses. These are courses about just the basics of being a librarian. We know that in many of our small libraries and our small communities, you are never going to go to library school. It's just not, it's something you're going to do, not something you have the time, the funding to do possibly, and you don't feel that, I don't need a bachelor's degree, a master's degree to run this small library, and that is perfectly fine. You do not need that. We do not require that of you. So we offer these basic skills courses. They are free. They are all online. Any Nebraska resident employed or planning to be employed in a Nebraska library can take our classes. And the basic skills requirement here is there are, you have 6 required courses: collection management, communication, customer service, cataloging, etc., intellectual freedom, and core values of librarianship. And then you'll take another 7 electives out of these. So you'll take a total of 13 courses throughout your 3 years. Each lasts only 2 weeks, except for introduction to cataloging, which is for the month of April. And here we have our schedule. Every year is posted, so you can plan to see what you will take every year. So when you first join the certification program as a library staff member, look at the schedule. They're always offered at the same time of year every year. They just, might move a little because they always try and start on a Monday. So customer service is always in the beginning of February. Introduction to cataloging is always the month of April. Collection management is always in August, et cetera, et cetera. So you can plan when you first join the program. You should look at all of these, figure out which ones you have to take, the asterisk ones, and which electives you want to take. And you schedule out what you're going to do each year. And then you'll be able to get all of them taken care of throughout your 3-year period. If you do that, if you do separate them out evenly, you'll do 4 courses 2 of the years and 5 courses 1 year. And as I said, they're only 2 weeks long, each one of them. So 8 weeks in a year, 10 1 year. Not too bad. The courses are online, and they do last the 2 weeks. How quickly you finish your assignments is up to you, though. You may finish them up in the first week and then you're done, and that's great. So, another question about accreditation, or certification. Yes, can we get a list of staff members who are going to be certified in July or August? Yes, we do reach out to you. Mary Geibel is our administrative assistant here, and she usually does reach out to people who, if you're a library board or you as a staff person, if you're in the certification program for a librarian, we reach out and let you know when you're coming up with your deadline, if you still have CE hours that you need to do. You can check your own CE record. There is a CE record review, and I scrolled down here, but that's the hard way to do it. In the pop-out menu here, we have a link, CE record review. Also, we have here for the board status review, so where to submit the CE credits. So there is a CE record review that each individual can look up themselves. This is a private things of each person. But if you are the library director and you want to know what your staff is at, where they each are, reach out. You can email us here. We've got an email link here, and we can get that information to you for all of your staff if you want to keep up with what they are doing. For your board, as I showed you before, it's right out there. You can just look and see where your board is at. Yeah. So if you have a library degree, you just get the level, and then you do 45 hours of CE, attending workshops and sessions. If you do not have a library degree, you still do 45 hours, but you take our basic skills courses, and those basic skills courses count towards your 45 hours. So you don't have to do those courses and then another 45 hours. No. If you have a degree, if you're working on getting your library science degree, that's fine. You'll get a provisional certificate, and you don't have to do the basic skills courses because we know you're working towards some sort of library science degree. Once you complete it, let us know, and then we'll change you from provisional to an official certification. There is a separate page here for library certification, also very similar to the board one, but remember, this is having to do with doing your job as a librarian. But you can do anything: workshops, conferences, in person, online, recorded. If you take courses, you can get credit for some up to 20 CE can be your actual college courses you're taking. If you teach or present, so if you present at like on NCompass Live or at a Nebraska Library Association conference or any other event, you can earn CE for presenting as well, not just attending a session, and you earn double the CE credits. So if you do an NCompass Live here, which is an hour long, you earn 2 CE because you're presenting, not just sitting and watching. All right. Go back to here. And another question here. Let me open up here. Does every single staff person need to be certified for accreditation? No, not at all. Nope. Sorry. No, only your library director is required to be certified. That's the only one that is required. All other, it's voluntary if you want them to be certified or not. So only the board must be certified and the director must be certified at acquired level. Any other staff, it's up to you if you want them to go through the program. You can also just take any of those basic skills courses just because you want to. You don't have to be in the certification program to take a basic skills class. So if any of those topics you want a refresher on, or you feel like you need to learn more about, you can take them at any time too. And it doesn't even have to be for getting certification. It's just because I need to learn more about customer service, or I need to learn more about library technology because I'm suddenly doing that at my library. You can totally take classes just because you want to as well. But no, only the library director is required to be certified for the library to be accredited. Is the level of accreditation affected by how many staff are certified? Maybe. You can earn points for having more staff certified, and that might bring up your level depending on where you are. So it depends. Now, the director must be certified based on a level based on the population of your community too. So this is another thing, not just certified, but certified at a particular level. And this is based on your legal service area. So smaller, you're only required to have a certain certification level. And you'll know up to 24,999 population, we are not requiring the librarian type certification, just any graduate degree, which is level 4 would be you have a graduate degree in something that's not library science, and then you take our basic skills classes. For any communities though of 25,000 or more, which is really just our very largest ones, we do require that you be level 5, which is having a master's in library science or master's in library information science, whatever the colleges are calling it now. But any sort of graduate level master's degree. So if you're in one of those largest communities, the director is required to have that level. So yes, a library degree. And now this is only, and I want to be very clear about this, we only require directors to have a master's degree if you want your library to be accredited. There's no law, there's no requirement in the state of Nebraska that says library directors must have a degree of any sort. That is decided community by community what your requirements are for your director. But if you want to be accredited by us and you are at that 25,000 plus population, then yes, your director must have a master's degree. Okay, another question here. Great, got lots of questions coming in. I'm so glad. Can you get a higher level of accreditation if the director and other staff have an MLS and in a lower population area? No, it doesn't that wouldn't give you any more points. No, you get your director certified, and then a certain number, depending. And when we look at the application form, you'll see how it works. It depends on how many of your additional staff are certified at any level. Your staff can be at anything. You don't get higher level accreditation because your staff are at a higher level certification. There's lots of things. There's like a couple hundred guidelines, so this is just one of them. Okay, let's get moving along here. I don't want to go too long. Go through these minimum qualifications. So that's the certification. Your director and your board required to be certified. Oh, and I will mention here, we don't have it probably listed here. We do have, if some of you may have noticed, a new continuing education coordinator here at the Nebraska Library Commission. Linda Kloss is our new certification. Holly Duggan was previously. She is now, some of you may know, she is now the director at the in the Public Library in York. And Linda started just last month here, so she'll be the person you'll be working with now for anything certification related. All right, so other qualifications. You must receive local funding from your municipality of some sort. You have to have a budget. You cannot be only run by donations. You have to have actual money, a budget coming from your city, village, county, wherever you are. As I already said, you have to do the survey and the supplemental survey, so I won't get into that anymore here, but it is one of those requirements. You have to have paid library staff during all hours the library is open. So you cannot have just a volunteer-run library who are not paid. Now, we do know that sometimes you do have volunteers come in and help if the director is sick or attending a conference. So for like one-time temporary situations like that, yes, that's fine. But they cannot be your regular staff as a regular schedule being unpaid. You have to have, as on your standard schedule, it's paid library staff. The director has to have an email that they check regularly for. This is how we reach out to you and contact you. So you do have to have an email address. You have to make basic services available at no charge to all residents. And this is a state statute. So you'll see that on the pages over here. 51802 states that these basic services must be provided at no cost to your community, and this includes circulation, reference, information services. Separate from that, we also require that you have access to the internet and that you do not charge for access to the internet. You cannot charge a per minute fee or anything for people to come in and use the internet at your library. And the last one, also per state statute, is that you do an annual report to your governing body or whoever is your local government. This is according to state statute. This is supposed to be done by February of every year. So you should have already done that, just an annual. You may attend meetings regularly anyways, but a final annual report of everything we did last year by February of the next year must be submitted to your governing body. And that is a state statute. Again, that's here 51213. So those are the 12 basic requirements that you must meet to be accredited at all. And you notice once I've checked all of these, now it's popped up and said you meet the minimum qualifications, and then you can now go into the accreditation application form. If you click that button, it will go to where you can log in to do that. Now, like I said, this form's not live yet for this upcoming year, so I'm not going to go into this, but I'm going to show you the preview version. But while we're here, I will tell you the user ID and password is the same one that you use for submitting the public library survey. We're not making you learn a new password or anything or ID. So whatever you use to log into our public library survey to submit that, it's the same one you'll use here. It's also the same user ID and password you've used throughout the years to do Bibliostat. We just kept the same one. There is a password lookup here if you don't remember what that is, or you can reach out and ask us if you do want, if you're not sure. All right, so that's our 12 minimum qualifications. This is what we had been talking about. I know it seems we're jumping around a lot, but yeah. So requirements to be accredited: do the survey and the supplemental survey, meet those 12 minimum, and then have a community needs response plan. This is a separate document you submit to me through email or mail. Used to be called a strategic plan years and years ago, but it's really about looking at what your community needs and coming up with ideas to respond to them. This is something, our guidelines for accreditation are very community-based. Each library determines your own criteria, what's important to you, and using this plan can help look up some of that. I do have a whole separate page all about community needs response planning. And I'm not going to go into the in-depth details on this. That's what that 3-hour workshop is for in June. So if you want to see about exactly how to write a plan, all the details, that's what to attend. But there are 7 main elements that must be in a plan: a mission statement, a community profile. You're going to assess what your community needs. You're going to analyze all that information, come up with some programs and goals you can do. We have lots of good resources here. Some webinars that have been held, examples of good plans. We made a slight change in 2022 to the plan, one part, but these older plans are still good in general for examples. And we have lots of worksheets that you can use to fill out to create your plan, and how-to guides and help. So lots of information here on how to do that. So this is a separate document, kind of like a strategic plan, but not for everything you do in your library. You're just going to pick out a few specific things that you're going to focus on, and you're going to try to get a good look at what your community needs. The whole point of being accredited and being a public library is figuring out what's needed in your community and what you need to do to help them. And this plan hopefully takes you through that process with some guidance. So that is something that's the third thing that is required. Now, if you are already accredited, you should have a previous version of this plan from the last time you did it. If you don't know where that is, can't find it, ask me. I can get you your previous plan, so you can see what you might need to update on it, or what was previously written. I know we have lots of director changes, so you might not have it, or you just don't remember what you did with it from 5 years ago. All right. All right, any other questions? Just do let me know any questions you have as we're going through things here. All right, so that's what's required: the survey, the 12 minimum, and the plan. Now, the application form is the last thing that I'm going to go over about what is how this form looks like and what it's all about. This is the other thing. So there's 2 things you submit to me: that separate document, that's your plan, and then this online accreditation application form. There's 5 sections to it: governance and planning, resources, services, cooperation and collaboration, and communications. As I said, this items that are already reported in your public library survey are automatically pre-filled in there. You only have to check off things that are in addition to what's in the survey. It does have a save where you can click on, you can save as you go and come back to it. So you do not have to do it all in one sitting, which is good because it is a lot of questions. You might not want to do that. We do some of the items are done as peer comparisons. We compare your library to other libraries of similar size to determine if you're meeting something. And it's only 9 of the guidelines. It's not a lot. So determining if you are coming at the same level as libraries as a similar size as your community. The peers are within 15% of your population legal service area. So this is things like local income, how many hours you're open, staff expenditures, materials, circulation, etc., attendance at events. So you can meet either the average of the reported or the median, the value in the midpoint when they're all arranged in size order. We actually do all this math for you in the application form, so you don't have to worry about doing the math. The numbers are just plugged in because this all comes from all your public library surveys. You do not have to do this yourself. You'll just see it appear there as what your numbers were, what other libraries' numbers were, and what the math comes out to. If you do want to know more about the libraries who are your peers, you will see a list of who are your peer libraries. And if you want to know what they actually answered as their on their public library surveys, you can reach out to Sam and he can provide you with the full data for your peer libraries. All the public library survey data is public. It's on our website. You can always go search for it and look at everyone's, but it's a huge list. It's like 200 something libraries. Sam can get you just the data about your library and your peers, so you can see what they actually answered if you do want to know that more of that information. So I'm going to look at the preview application now just quickly so you can see what it looks like when you do go to it. As I said, this is just a static version. It is not anything where you can click on, but it is what it's going to look like when you go into the live version when that goes live on July 1st. So there are checkboxes for each of the questions, as you can see here. And if there is a green check, you meet the guideline, and a red X means you do not. This is for all the ones that are pulled from the public library survey data. So those are just automatically pre-filled in here. You will have a running total of your points. There will be a little box. I'll show you how many points you have. And here's a reminder of what the levels are. There is also help for some of the questions. So you can see here, I'm just going to scroll down. Here's the governance and planning section. Because you clicked the first 12 minimum qualifications to get into this form in the first place, that first item is checked for you. And everything else you can just check yourself. Like I said, this is not a live form, so I can't check any actual boxes, but you would click in these and then it would start adding up your points. It shows you how many points each item is worth. Having your plan is worth 10 points. There is the yellow question mark where you can pop open a help page with, not every single question has that, but for ones that we know we want to give more information, you've got all of this explanation about some of the questions. So as you go through this, you'll check off all the different things that you have. If you have policies, if you here you go, friends group and foundation, you submit that to us in our supplemental forms. Those get pre-checked for you. Your income, here's where it comes up with the staff, the certification levels that we're talking about, that you were asking about. If you're a library director, must be certified at the required level based on population, and you earn 3 points for that. And then depending on how many additional staff must be certified, you can earn another 3 points. So if you are in a smaller library, 500 to 2499 population, if you're one additional staff person is certified, you earn 3 points. If you're in a larger community of 10,000 or more, if you have 4 additional staff in addition to your director, then you earn the 3 points. So it doesn't matter if you're having more, it's not done by 1 point per staff. It's 3 points for having additional staff if you have that enough additional staff. So, I mean, if you have, 10 staff and all 10 of them are certified, you get 3 points. If you have 10 staff and only one of them is certified, you get 3 points. So that is how that works. And you can see all of these that have the green check. These are ones that come from your public library survey data. So you've already submitted this information to us previously. We just pre-fill it. The ones that are not checked are the ones where you can check, get more points depending on what you do in your library. And that is how, this is the way we do the accreditation is, previously it used to be you had to do everything, a certain number of things, meet certain criteria to be bronze level. And then if you want to be silver, a whole bunch of other things, you had to do all these things. If you missed just one of those, you didn't get to be silver. Back in 2013, we changed to this point system where we realized, or we knew, every community is unique. Every community is different. You may offer services in your community that are totally different than the one down the road. And that's because that's what's important to your people and your community and what they need. And you should be rewarded for doing what your community needs, not what some arbitrary, someone says you should have for example, you should have a teen library board, teen advisory board. Well, maybe you don't have a lot of teens in your community. So why would that matter? But someone down the road has a huge bunch, lots of teens, so they can earn points for that. So depending on what you do in your community, you may check things off and earn points for something that someone else might not. But you still will both be accredited based on what you do in your unique community to support your people, your citizens. So it's so that you can be very specific and cater to what what's happening in your town. So we have a technology section here. These computer questions are new a couple of years ago. So if you haven't done accreditation in a while, you might not have seen them. But end of life of operating systems and being up to speed on how all of your computer technology is important. So we added questions for that, about your collection services that you provide. If you collaborate with other organizations, what you do, and then how you communicate what your library is doing. I do look for most of this. I just trust that you're answering, truthfully, if you do say you do post things on your website or on any social media, I do look here and I do check your website and check your social media and see if you are posting things monthly to them. If you have posted your mission statement and your policies on your website, to make sure that you're, things that I can check on, I do. Also, when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at this in conjunction with you at the same time as I have your community needs response plan. There are some questions here that will refer to that plan, and some things in your plan I want to make sure you check off on here. I have done that before where someone has said we do something and their plan, that separate document, but they forgot to check it off on here. So I'm like, you need to earn these points. So I will compare those and make sure that you get all the points correctly. And you'll see here at the bottom, there will be a point total where as you check these boxes, the points will go up depending on what you checked. 97 is the minimum if you meet all of the criteria, guidelines based on your public library survey data. You might not meet all of them, but that's the minimum if you do. So that is the application form that you will submit. So I would say take a look at it now. You can see what kind of questions are going to be on the real form or on the live form. Decide maybe I can work on, maybe we don't have policies. We don't have a marketing policy yet. Let's come up with one. I could earn a point for that. We don't have a donations policy, whatever you need. So take a look at this and see, get yourself a head start before the process goes live on July 1st. All right, and that is the last thing for this general overview of accreditation. Not sure exactly what time I started, but that's okay. I think I'm about an hour, but does anybody have any other questions? That is the basics of the program, what it's all about, why you would do it, the levels available, the benefits, our basic schedule, the minimum requirements you need to meet. As I said, if you are up for reaccreditation this year, definitely sign up for one of the longer workshops. We will go in depth, step by step through all of the questions on the application form and step by step on how to write and create or update a community needs response plan. We get much more in depth into that on the longer workshops. So does anybody have any other last minute questions you want to ask about accreditation before I do wrap things up for today? Type into that question section. I've got it open here. Let's see. No? All right, that's okay. You all know where to find me. If you do have any other questions, thank you everyone for your patience. I don't really have any control over when our fire alarm gets set off, but thank you everyone for sticking around, even though we're running past our official time. We started late and ending late, but luckily no real fire. We're all good here. So thank you everybody for being here. Good luck with your accreditation. As I said, this has been recorded and you will have recording available to you later. And I will, and do sign up. If you're up for accreditation this year, definitely sign up for workshop, or if you're just interested, you don't have to be coming up for accreditation, but they're an annual thing. So there'll be another one when you're up. So that wraps it up for today. I'm going to pop over here to my NCompass Live main page and show you. These are our upcoming shows we have, and this is where our archives are. It's a link underneath here. The most recent show will be at the top of the page here. By the end of the day tomorrow, I should have the recording for this ready for you all. Everyone who attended today's show and registered for today's show will get an email from me letting you know when it is ready. Our recordings go up on our Nebraska Library Commission YouTube channel, so you'll be able to go over there and watch it as you like. And anyone who attended, you earn CE. There is, after this show ends, you will all receive, anyone who attended live will receive a automatic email from the GoToWebinar system with a certificate saying you earned 1 hour CE for being here. If you watch the recordings, you can also earn CE on each one. We put in a special form that you could submit. This is the one from last year, and you can see it pre-fills in the title of the session. So if you or your staff or your board members watch this recording later, they can submit that and earn CE towards their certifications as staff or board certifications that I was talking about before. We do have a Facebook page. You can see a link here for NCompass Live. Go back. There we go. So if you do like to use Facebook, give us a like over there. We do post reminders. I did a reminder to log in today's show, announcements of when our sessions are coming up, and when the recording is ready, I also post here as well. We have a little abbreviated hashtag NCompLive that I use on here and on the Library Commission's Instagram account, LinkedIn, anywhere where I can think social media wise to share about it. So you can keep up with what we're doing there as well. Here in Nebraska, we have our mailing lists as well that I do send messages out to as well. All right. So that's it for today. Here is our upcoming shows. I hope you join us next week when we're talking about literacy. Play, explore, learn, building early literacy through station-based programs. Kendra Brewer, who is from the Vermilion, South Dakota Public Library, is going to be joining us to talk about how they are doing these interactive programs for early literacy. So if that's something you're interested in or wanting to do at your library and want to learn more about, please do sign up for that show and any of our other shows. We've got our May, June, and we're even got things scheduled into July. So please do join us for a future episode of NCompass Live. And accreditation, contact me if you have any other questions. I'm here to help. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.